Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a quick video on free thinking and not being indoctrinated into thinking in a particular way. I've been followed around on my YouTube videos and also on Facebook by a certain individual who would appear to be incapable of free thinking. This is a classic example of an individual who has been indoctrinated into thinking in a certain way, who will look at the internet and believe everything that he sees, reads and hears. Not just from the internet, from what people tell him, what people have taught him at school, etc. Because school, let's face it, is a classic indoctrination process. There's a word, conceptuality. Having a concept, being able to inform an individual opinion of something which you have an individual theory of. Something which is completely unrelated to what you've been taught in school, to what your parents have taught you, to what your friends have taught you and told you all about. It's a case of being able to be a free-thinking individual. This is very important in today's society. We are being indoctrinated on a regular basis, all the way throughout our lives, from when we're young children, obviously at school. We're taught to believe in things in a certain way. We are taught to look at the world in a certain way. From every lesson we're taught. History, obviously, we can research history. Teachers can tell us about history. We know, we think we know what happened in history. But there are certain things in history which can be disputed. And can be put on the table, and we can have an individual theory of what we think actually happened. As I mentioned in my video before about the moon landings in 1969, it's my personal opinion. People don't have to agree with me. They don't have to send me ridiculous fucking comments like, you're an idiot, or etc. Yeah? That they landed on the moon. I believe NASA. I believe scientists. You're not a physicist. You don't know what you're talking about, etc., etc., etc. Okay, I'm not a physicist, but I do have a good fundamental knowledge of the difficulties that they would have faced actually going to the moon in 1969. For example, the Van Allen radiation belt. It would have been extremely dangerous for them to go through there. There was one individual said to me, they could skirt around the outer limits of the Van Allen radiation belt. Well, actually, you could do, of course, but the radiation is still significantly high enough to cause your DNA a great deal of damage. I don't believe that they would have got through the Van Allen radiation belt without extreme damage to their DNA, even if they would have survived at all. And considering the technology which they had in 1969, I find it very doubtful that they would have been able to do this effectively. They'd have had completely inadequate shielding against that radiation, which was extremely high in the Van Allen radiation belt. But going back to the normal things about classic indoctrination, people these days tend to believe everything that they read on the internet. I think this has been sort of put into them from when they were very young to believe everything that they're told. That society is telling them this, so their teachers are telling them this, and their friends are telling them this, so it must be true. For God's sake, start to inform yourself. Start to have an opinion of your own. If you look at a certain theory, a theory is by definition a theory. It's not factual. It's a way of explaining a certain individual thing. For example, gravity. We can explain gravity in a certain way. 17.2 pounds per square inch on each individual person on the Earth. That's gravity. I mean, that's what they say. And I think that's what it is. But there are certain things, everything is a theory. Black hole, for example, is completely theoretical. You can't see them. They have no matter. They have no time inside them. Everything stops. You go inside a black hole, time stops completely. There's no time, no space, no matter. How do they know this? It's just a theory again. But it's a fascinating theory, but it's just basically a theory. It's the same as whether you believe the Earth to be a globe or whether you believe the Earth to be flat. It's, again, theoretical. It's an individual informed opinion. So you are quite entitled to believe that the Earth is flat, or you're quite entitled to believe the Earth is round. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is that the Earth is here, and it's very important to us, and that the geoengineers are destroying it. They're destroying our ecosystem. Whether it's flat, or whether it's a globe, or whether it's pear-shaped, or oblique, or, or whatever it is, it's being destroyed. Anyway, a theory is a theory. But every theory needs to be researched, and every theory needs to be looked into in a different way, because if we never do that, then we're never going to learn anything. This is the thing. So this person that's following me around on my YouTube videos, and he's following me around on Facebook with ridiculous comments, I've got a simple message for him. Start to be a free thinker. Start to use your brain, which you've been given, and use it analytically. Don't look at something which is you believe not to be true, so therefore, you believe this to be true, so therefore everybody else's opinion is wrong. I mean, that's ridiculous. Now, I'm not showing around, to the people that say the Earth is flat, saying you're a bunch of fucking lunatics, because how do I know? I haven't been into space. I haven't seen what the Earth looks like. And to be honest with you, I'm really not too sure. I'm sort of on the fence on this. It's a very difficult thing to prove. You can do it through distance to the horizon, etc. Yes, how far optics can see as well, how far your eyes can see. Limited to the distance you can see. The horizon is the horizon. When a ship goes over the horizon, you see it go over and you see it get smaller and smaller and smaller, smaller. And you think because the funnel's going down, that it's going over the edge of the curvature of the Earth. Actually, it might not be that. It might just be that your visual perception tells you that that ship is going further and further and further away, and all it's doing is getting smaller and smaller. It's not going over the curve. It's just getting so far away that your visual perception can no longer pick it up. So, who knows? I'm on the fence whether it's round, whether it's flat. I haven't been to space. I haven't seen what it looks like. I have absolutely no idea. But I don't turn around to people that consider the Earth to be flat and say to them, "You're a bunch of lunatics. The Earth is round." Because I know it's round, because that's what they've told me, that's what they've taught me, so that's what I believe. This is the thing, you see. This is the thing that people fail to see. They fail to look at other people's opinions and give them any credibility, because what they believe, as far as they're concerned, is fact, and what the other person believes is a load of rubbish. And that's really, really stupid. It's counterproductive. I just don't understand their logic. If there is any logic in some of these people. The individual that follow me around at the moment on my YouTube videos and on Facebook, as far as I'm concerned, he's an illogical human being. He's an idiot. All right? I've got no time for these people. I'm just going to basically delete his comments from now on my YouTube videos. And I've made that quite clear to him, actually. I'm just not going to tolerate that kind of stupid, ridiculous, unintelligent behaviour anymore. But talking about all of this stuff, the indoctrination process, I mean, it's all about indoctrination. Take the internet, for example. The internet is a classic example of indoctrination. They put all this stuff on the internet, all of this information is there for you to read and digest, and they expect people just to believe everything they see on the internet as fact. They don't expect people to look at it in an analytical way and start to observe things in a slightly different way. So you've got one thing on the internet, so you look at it and you think, okay, that's it. That's what most people do. Me, I look at something on the internet and I think, hang on a minute. They're telling me this is this. I'm going to research this and see if there's an alternate theory. I may have an alternate theory in my head anyway, but I'm going to research this just to see if there's something different. It's all about individual choices in life. If you either accept it or you don't accept it. We have to research things. It's about curiosity. It's about what makes us human beings. We're capable of so much. Don't just accept one thing because somebody tells this is fact. Yeah. Look at the other possibilities as well. This is really important. And this is why people tend to get stuck in a rut and tend to be like this, like blinkered. They can't see out here. They just see here. They just won't accept anything else around them. They're just looking straight forward all the time. And, it's a counterproductive way of living your life. The world is so full of amazing things and amazing theories. For example, physicists. People that study astrophysics, people that do planetary science, exobiologists, people that study life and how life would look on other planets, depending on the atmosphere, depending on the atmospheric gases, depending on the atmospheric pressure, depending on the elements of that planet, different life forms would evolve. It might not be carbon-based like us because we live in an oxygen-rich atmosphere. We're carbon-based life forms. Everything suits us here on the Earth. But they look for one specific thing. And this is what really annoys me about some physicists. They say to me, I'm going to look for life in the universe, and the element I'm looking for is water. Liquid water, O2, yeah? Liquid water, H2O. 1 part hydrogen, 2 parts oxygen. Why just look for life in the way of water? What's to say that life could live, couldn't live in a methane atmosphere, okay? Or a hydrochloric acid atmosphere, or a hydrogen atmosphere. What's to say that life can't live in that? So why look just for one thing? That is physicists being like this. Instead of being like this and looking at all the elements in the universe that make up all the particles that we see, all of the gases, all of the sulfates, all of the amino acids and asteroids, for example, because there are amino acids and asteroids. There's glycine, which is a very prevalent amino acid and asteroids. And amino acids are building blocks of proteins, and the proteins are the building blocks of life. So maybe we were brought here through these amino acids hitting the Earth, and these amino acids turned into proteins, and proteins turned into life, into single cellular life, and then multicellular life, and then eventually we evolved. I mean, I don't know. It's a theory. There's evolution, there's creation. You know, I look at both sides. I don't just look at one side. I think it's very important to look at all of the information around to actually have an informed opinion. If you just look at one single thing, one single theory, you're never going to get anywhere at all. This is where the physicists go wrong. Don't just look for liquid water. Look for everything in every environment. Can life exist in this? Could life, exist in this? Would life be able to evolve if this atmosphere was present? Would life be able to evolve if this atmosphere was present? Not just look for water. That's what they're doing, and it's absolutely ridiculous. You know, they're looking at places in our solar system, for example, Enceladus or Europa, which have a huge ice sheets all the way around the moons. And underneath that ice, there is probably a liquid ocean, because they're very close to their planets, Jupiter and Saturn. They're very big. They have a huge gravitational effect on these small moons. Sometimes they're further away, and sometimes they're closer in. When they're closer in, they're being pressed in by the gravity of that planet. And when they're further away, that pressure's being released. So it's like this all the time. Yeah, it's called tidal forces. What that does is it melts the ice deep in that planet and turns it into a liquid. In that liquid, it's water. It's basically normal H2O underneath. So it's getting pressed like this and released and pressed under tidal friction. There's heat being generated, and all you need is water and a heat source for life to evolve. So who's to say that life can't evolve in Europa or Enceladus? That's just in our solar system. If we find one, even a tiny bacterial life, something single-celled, whatever, on one more moon or one planet in our solar system, that will prove that life is prevalent throughout the universe. If you find life has formed on more than one planet in the solar system, it tells you one thing, that life is prevalent in the universe and is common throughout the universe. And I believe that it is. I believe that the universe is not finite, it's infinite. It goes on and on and on and on. We've got all sorts of theories about the multiverse and other things. So I look at all these different theories, and I find it absolutely fascinating. For example, Titan, very large moon, Saturn, and it has a methane atmosphere. It's the only other planet besides the Earth that has a liquid on its surface. Because of the atmospheric pressure, that element is not a gas; it's a liquid. Okay, it's methane and ethane, and it exists as a liquid because it's very, very cold temperatures, and the atmospheric pressure allows that gas to exist as a liquid. On the Earth, it exists as a gas because the atmospheric pressure on Earth is completely different. And they've got lakes and rivers and oceans of liquid methane. You know, it's incredible. You know, very, very likely that life could exist in that, because life finds a way. Life is incredible. You know, life will find a way to exist, to evolve, to adapt. That's what life does. It's incredible. It's just amazing. You know, and if they could find life on Europa, Enceladus, or Titan, then we know then that the life is prevalent in the universe. So this is one example of looking at everything in a wider perspective, rather than looking at life like this. And I see so many individuals on Facebook, they write these horrible things on our posts about geoengineering and that it's just a conspiracy theory. Well, I don't understand why they do this, because basically geoengineering has been admitted as a program. The only thing they haven't admitted to is the actual damage it's causing to the ecosystem, and the damage it's causing to human health. For example, cancers because of radioactive particles which are spraying the chemtrails. The aluminium, barium, strontium, which gets to the cerebellum, it gets to the hippocampus, the cortex, neocortex, obviously initiates autism, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, Down syndrome, trisomy 21 genetic chromosome disorder. All of these different things. And they are not diseases. As I said before, they are a condition. They have an outside initiator. And the outside initiator is the shit they're spraying in the chemtrails. But people still don't believe it, even though it's above their heads every single day. You see it. There are no natural weather systems anymore. Every cloud you bloody see in the sky, all this cirrus cloud, is being sprayed by chemtrails. It starts nice and narrow like this, and then it just spreads out and goes into little pieces of cloud and spreads out. And it looks like a cirrus cloud, but it's not. It's a chemical cloud full of poisons, but you're breathing in every single day. So the people need to wake up. Stop being a sheep and start being a fucking human being. Look up. Use the fucking brain that God gave you. Look up to the sky and see what's going on above your heads. I cannot stand narrow-minded people, and I will not tolerate ridiculous, pathetic fucking comments on my videos or on my Facebook profile. Yeah, I will not tolerate it. We need to be subjective. If you look at something, look at it in an analytical way and decide for yourselves whether it's fact or whether it's fiction. It's a completely individual concept. You have to make your own mind up about this. But look at things in a wider spectrum. Don't look at things in a narrow spectrum, because you're never going to get anywhere. And to be honest with you, you're wasting your own time, as well as wasting my time and my friends' time on Facebook with ridiculous bloody comments. Yeah, I know your agenda. The people that do this, I'm speaking to you now. Yeah, the people that leave ridiculous comments about geoengineering stuff, it's a conspiracy, blah blah blah. Read about this. High bypass turbofans leave contrails. Really? Do they? I don't think so. They were specifically engineered not to leave any destructive emissions. They were designed to be fuel efficient. Simple as that. They do not leave contrails. It is physically impossible. The engineering was designed so they cannot and do not ever leave a condensation trail. The only trails you see in the sky now are chemical trails, chemtrails. There's a word they fucking hate, but that's what it is. Okay? So wake up, sheep, and get the fuck off our post and leave us alone. You don't like it, go somewhere fucking else. You'll just get blocked anyway, so what's the fucking point? Fucking idiots. So be subjective. Be analytical. Look at the world in a wider perspective. See things for what they really are. Research things. Don't just leave stupid comments. Look at things and research it. If somebody says that geoengineering is a fact, and, for example, if somebody said that to me, and I had no idea what geoengineering was, but my God, is that really doing that to fucking people? Is that destroying our ecosystem? Of course I would want to research it. Fuck's sake. Yeah? It's the same for the people that leave these stupid comments. Do some research. Yeah? That's all I'm going to say to you. Research it and look at it. It's factual. Look up David Keith, fucking insane guy running the geoengineering programs, who was quoted saying, "We have no idea what geoengineering will do to the climate. We have no idea what geoengineering will do to the ecosystem. We have absolutely no idea of the implications, the health implications on everybody, all biological organisms. Terrible implications. But they don't want to research it because they believe that it's not real, that their government would never do anything to harm them." The same as if people trying to say to me, I've had a few comments lately actually on some of my posts, which I've deleted of course, about false flag terrorist attacks. Our government would never do this to us. Oh, they'd never do that to us. Our government are great. We have to trust our government. They'd never harm their own citizens. Really? Look at 9/11. You think that that was a fucking terrorist attack? Wake the fuck up. It was a false flag operation initiated by the United States government, the President of the United States, the federal agencies, the FBI, the NSA, DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and all of the other intelligence agencies were involved in that genocide, killing 3,000 of their own citizens. Wake the fuck up and research things. Simple. Indoctrination starts as a child. It is up to each individual, it is up to each parent to ensure that their children are taught the right things in the right way, to look at the world in the way it really is, because the world is not a nice place, okay? There are lots of people wanting to do you harm. The teachers will teach you a certain thing in a certain way. They will indoctrinate you into believing the world is this way. This is how this works, this is how this theory works, etc., etc., etc. And on goes the indoctrination process until that individual, whether it's a boy or a girl, leaves school, goes to college, with all this indoctrinated information in their heads, with the inability to research anything, because what they're being taught, they believe to be fact. They will not research anything, and this is the problem I see with the people on Facebook. They refuse to research anything for the simple fact that what they believe is true because what they were taught was true. The teachers knew what they were talking about. Yeah? Of course. Actually, of course they knew what they were doing. The education system is set out in a very specific way to indoctrinate children into believing, to see the world in a specific way, to believe things in a specific way, to learn things in a specific way. For example, mathematics is a very, very simple concept, a very simple subject to learn. There are different ways of actually doing multiplication, subtraction, division and addition. Very simple ways. With the numbers, you don't have to add numbers to get your answer. There are different ways to do it. Very simple ways. In fact, I'll go into that at some stage and I'll talk about mathematics and physics and the very simple way to learn mathematics. I can do that for you. Please show your children, because it's far less complicated than the way they teach you at school. They teach you at school to learn mathematics in a specific way, which is overly complicated. Mathematics is not complicated, it's very simple, but it's one of these subjects which people are inherently afraid of. especially when it comes to examinations. For example, when I was at school doing mathematics, I could see the answer in those numbers without doing any calculations. Luckily, I've been gifted with quite a high IQ, if that's 183. So I was quite lucky in that respect. Mathematics is not complicated. You have to learn mathematics in the way which you were supposed to learn mathematics. Numbers are very simple. They're not complicated in any way. They're not complex at all. You just have to know how to actually write these equations down easily to get the answer without going through the process of adding this to this, subtracting that from that, and long division, all this fucking shit. The numbers, the answer is in the numbers. Right there. A combination of these numbers will give you that answer. In that particular equation, you have a set number of numbers. In these numbers, these specific numbers, 4 or 3 or 5 of these numbers will give you the answer you're looking for at the bottom of that equation. Very, very simple. And I'll do a video on this and I'll show people how to do this. I think it's quite important because a lot of children find mathematics very difficult, and the teachers who are teaching them also make it extremely complicated for them. And they must know the simple way to do mathematics. But unfortunately, the education system is set up in a certain way that teachers must teach subjects in a specific way to children. Okay? Not the simple way, but the way the educational system has their big fucking list, a huge book like this, yeah, full of all sorts of ways you must teach children in this specific way. Do not deviate from what we have told you and how we have told you to teach children. Terrible. Again, indoctrination, making life complicated for children. Shouldn't be. School for me, yep, I enjoyed it. I actually took religious studies. Not because I was particularly religious, but I found the Bible a fascinating book, specifically the Old Testament. It's interesting. And there was a book written, I think, by Carl Sagan. It was called God versus Science in the Book of Genesis. It was basically evolution versus creation. Carl Sagan was one of these physicists who had a very open mind. I would say he was one of the most brilliant minds that we've had since Einstein. He was an absolutely fantastic, brilliant physicist. He looked at physics and he looked at evolution and creation. He looked at both sides and he put that into his theories. He was an amazing, amazing guy. I have so much respect for this guy. I've got most of his books. I think astrophysics is an absolutely fascinating subject. Exobiology, etc., planetary physics, particle physics. It's fascinating. Astronomy, knowing the universe, knowing the planets, how many stars in the galaxy, how many galaxies in the universe. Oh my God, 200 billion galaxies. And the Milky Way galaxy has got approximately 350 billion stars. That's a number you wouldn't be able to write down for hundreds of years. It's such a huge, huge number. It's 100,000 light years across the Milky Way galaxy. 100,000 light years. Light travels at 186,000 miles a second. Okay, it would take you 100,000 years travelling at the speed of light to travel from one side of our Milky Way galaxy to the other. And that's just our galaxy. Beyond there are 200 billion other galaxies in the observable universe, as far as we can see. Okay? And beyond that, who knows how many? A number so enormous, we just could not comprehend it. We just simply haven't the intelligence to comprehend a number that big. That's why we say the universe is infinite, because we can't write that number down. It's that sideways 8, infinity, yeah? It's such a huge number. We explain it with infinity, with that particular numeral, the 8, or the 8 on its side. We can't comprehend infinity. It's something which is a number we just cannot understand. It's just too big for us to understand. If the universe is infinite, it's incredible. So, if you can imagine something, this is just an example. This is a way of free thinking. If you can imagine anything in your mind, any creature, any environment, somewhere in the universe, the probability of that existing is 100%. Because in an infinite universe, there are infinite possibilities. And this is a way to look at life, the way you should use your brain. Okay? There are infinite possibilities to look at a number of issues that you look at and you research. Anything you research, there are infinite possibilities because it's all theoretical. So therefore you have to look at life in a specific way. Don't just look at one thing. Look at it in a broader way. Anyway, this is just an example of the way our society views things. Views the things that they've been taught, and they will just look at it in one specific way. They will not research any other possibility because they are absolutely, definitely sure in their mind, you know, with specificity that this is the way this is. It cannot be this way because that's the way they taught me. This is the way they taught me. This is the way this is. Okay, you know, that's the way life is. So this is a free thinking video. How to think in different ways. How to look at the world in a different way. You know, always look at theories. Don't just look at one theory. Make your own theory. Have an informed opinion. Maybe this is a theory for that. Maybe this works better than their theory. Look into it. Do some equations. Do some fucking thinking. Do some free thinking. Be free thinking individuals. Anyway, it's getting fucking late, so I want to get some sleep. Have a good night, guys. Take care.